Hi everyone, my name is Rex. Welcome to Rex Reviews, where I review stuff like books, TV shows, and movies. I have an English degree, so I've been doing this for a while, and I just like to sort of analyze and review stuff. So, here we go. And welcome to the video. And yes, today we are going to be talking about the complexities of My Little Pony. It's my sleepover, and I get to yap about whatever I want. And today I want to yap about Rarity. Because really, she is such, like, a subversive character, and I was actually working on a different video about Cabin 10 in the Percy Jackson series, like the Aphrodite cabin, and I will make that video eventually. And then I got kind of thinking about, like, the pretty popular fashionista mean girl stereotype, and how Rarity kind of goes against this stereotype. Like, yes, she's pretty, she's popular, she's a fashionista, but she is not a mean girl, and I love that. Honestly, Rarity is my favorite pony of the main six. It used to be like Applejack or maybe Rainbow Dash. They were my favorites when I was a little kid. But now that I've grown older, I've grown wiser, I've realized that Rarity is my favorite. So actually, funnily enough, this video was also supposed to be my debut of my Rarity cosplay. It was also supposed to be posted back in October, but you know, stuff happens. I couldn't make my cosplay because unfortunately, my sewing machine is broken beyond repair, and I just can't get a new one right now. So instead, I'm wearing this lovely purple top, and I made these little diamond pins to look like her cutie mark, and I think this is pretty cute, so yeah. Anyways, long intro. I'm sorry. This never gets any less awkward for me to do. Hope you enjoy the video. Sadly, I will not be able to use clips or audio from the show, just because of like copyright reasons, not because I don't know how to. But I will try to include screenshots. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let's get moving with this. My Little Pony Friendship is Magic was created in 2010. During this era, being a girly girl was out, quote unquote, so to speak. It was very popular for hyper-feminine girls who, like pink, makeup, and fashion, and similar stuff, were demonized in media. Think Mean Girls, Gossip Girl, Aphrodite Cabin in Percy Jackson, and in Heroes of Olympus. They were treated as if they were less than others, either pure, evil, disguised with cute looks, or brainless bimbos only appealing to the male gaze. There were a lot of not like other girls at this time who would put down other girls and women for their hyperfeminine tendencies and pride themselves on their tomboyish tendencies. That is a whole other thing to unpack, and I'm sure you've all heard it before discussed on like YouTube, TikTok, Tumblr, and I don't know, Instagram probably. I'm not really into a lot of social medias. I used to be really into TikTok. I'm going on a tangent. I'm going to stop myself. Anyways, what was happening was that the girly girls were demonized or reduced to nothing, while the tomboys, the nerdy, geeky, bookish girls were all praised for the way that they were. It was all very one-dimensional for both sides and damaging for both sides. Rarity, from My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, does fall under the fashionista or girly girl type of character, and during this time, Lauren Faust easily could have made her a mean girl, and people would have accepted it. But instead, Faust made Rarity incredibly kind, compassionate, and caring as a person, or pony. Rarity represents the element of generosity, and we see this very clearly early on in the show. Like, all the way in the first episode, before we even really know anything about the elements of harmony, she cuts off her tail to make the sea monster with the missing mustache a new mustache. Rarity takes great pride in her appearance. She works really hard on her appearance, and yet she is willing to give that up so someone else can feel beautiful again. The fact that she's willing to give up something that she works so hard for and takes great pride on shows an amazing amount of, well, generosity. And of course, Rarity isn't perfect all the time, but none of the main six are. No one is perfect all the time. But they all try their best. They all do the best they can. Rarity can be dramatic, haughty, vain, and stuck up at times, but at her core, she really is a kind and generous person, or pony. I'm going to go over a few of the episodes about Rarity, not all of them. I'm just going to stick to the earlier seasons because that's a bit easier for me because that's kind of where I am right now in my rewatch. Alright, so I'm going to talk about the Season 1, Episode 8 episode, look before you sleep. This episode wasn't originally in my script, so I'm adding it now, real quick. Like I said, episode 8, season 1, look before you sleep. I wanted to mention this episode because it really explored the sort of tomboy versus girly girl versus kind of nerdy girl thing with Twilight very well. I'm mostly going to focus on the tomboy versus girly girl thing. In this episode, Applejack and Rarity argue over like which cleanup style is better for the storm. Applejack wants to focus on the bigger picture while Rarity wants to focus on the smaller details, and they argue over stuff like Applejack being too messy while Rarity is too clean. But throughout the episode, it shows both sides of this like debate. Both have valid points. It's okay to be a tomboy and it's okay to be a girly girl, but sometimes you need to step back and look at things from the other perspective and go against what you would usually do. Alright, so in season 1, episode 14, Suited for Success, in this episode, I think we can really see the extent Rarity is willing to go to for her friends. It starts with her making her own grand galloping gala dress, but when Twilight asks Rarity to spruce up an old dress of hers, and Applejack says that she's just going to wear her old work duds, Rarity will simply not accept this. Rarity decides to make a dress for each of her friends. And I want to add that I'm a hobby seamstress. I make costumes mostly for myself, but I have made clothes for like my other friends and some of my family as well, and let me tell you, it takes a lot of work. Sewing is not like quick and easy. I'm sure it's even harder for horses. She has magic, so it probably goes a little bit faster. Anyways, it takes a lot of work. Everyone has like different measurements, personal tastes, a lot of ideas to take into account. And now I'm going to get back to what I'm supposed to be talking about. Rarity does this. Rarity makes things she thinks her friends will like. The first round of dresses that she makes are gorgeous. She takes into account her friends' different styles, interests, color palette, and makes a gorgeous dress for each of them. She doesn't really have to worry about the sizing differences because they're all the same size. Anyways, this just shows the amount of time and effort she's willing to put into her friend and how generous she really is. And each time one of them wants an alteration, she does this until each dress is specifically made to her friend's taste, even if they look terrible, all while neglecting her own dress, which she wanted to make in the first place. And again, this just all around shows how generous she is because she is willing to run herself ragged for her friend's specific tastes while neglecting her own needs and wants. And even if the designs her friends came up with aren't the best looking, she doesn't really criticize them or belittle their designs, even if they do look like complete garbage. And when the fashion show for hoity-toity goes wrong, she's not upset with her friends or their designs, but rather she's upset with herself and for what she created. In reality, I think she had every right to be upset with all the things that her friends were asking her to do, and they were kind of taking advantage of her generosity, but she just kept going for it and going with it because she is so generous. Alright, so Season 2, Episode 5, The Sisterhood Social. This episode focuses on Rarity and her relationship with her sister, Sweetie Belle. Rarity's retired Midwestern, for some reason, parents drop off Sweetie Belle at Rarity's place so they can go on vacation. Sweetie Belle acts like, a little kid, because she is a little kid. And Rarity is not a fan of this because she's, not a little kid who doesn't act like a little kid anymore and doesn't seem to have much experience watching over children. Side note, I forgot that Sweetie Belle wasn't Rarity's daughter. Completely forgot about that. I rediscovered that during my rewatch. Sweetie Belle often tries to help out Rarity, but ends up making things worse. And honestly, that is relatable. I've been there. I've done that. I still do that sometimes, honestly. For example, when I was a little kid, 4, maybe 5, I cut my mom's rainbow shoelaces in half because I thought I was making her more shoelaces because she loved those shoelaces so much. And, she got pretty upset with me, as any parent would. All water under the bridge now. My mom and I have a great relationship. Anyways, it kind of reminds me, it's kind of similar to how Sweetie Belle made that portrait with the blue diamond. She thought she was making something Rarity would love. And Rarity reacts how a normal adult would react. She doesn't see this from Sweetie Belle's perspective, and Sweetie Belle doesn't see this from Rarity's perspective. They're not acting only like sisters, but also like an adult and a child. They have miscommunications, they argue, they they just they're at very different stages in life. Like, Rarity is supposed to be in her early to mid-20s, and Sweetie Belle's like 10. I'm not a sister, nor do I have children, but I have friends who have siblings, and I've worked with kids, and I've been a kid, so this sort of argument and, like, this sort of butting heads isn't unusual. Sweetie Belle decides to run off and join the Apple family, and they're certainly more, like, kid-friendly, so to speak. They're messier, they're louder, they're more fun in a child's eyes, and this hurts Rarity because she wants her sister to love her, and she does love her sister. When Rarity sees what Sweetie Belle made with those gems, Rarity does love it. Like, she realizes, she's like, oh my god, my sister loves me so much. I need to fix this. And Rarity is willing to fight like hell to get Sweetie Belle back. Rarity is so willing to fight to get Sweetie Belle back that she does something she wouldn't really want to do normally. The Sister Hooves social, where she gets messy and dirty and covered herself in mud to disguise herself as Applejack to prove to Sweetie Belle that she does love her and wants to be her sister. Rarity's generosity isn't limited to material goods such as gowns or her tail, but her time, her enjoyment, her love, just acts of service, I guess. Because Rarity is incredibly generous, and she loves her family and her friends, and she wants them to know this. Alright, the Season 2, Episode 9, Sweet and Elite episode. In this episode, Rarity is staying in Canterlot for a few days to get supplies for her boutique. Rarity is also using this trip to make a surprise dress for Twilight Sparkle for her upcoming birthday. But soon enough, Rarity gets noticed by some rather wealthy and elite ponies. Rarity does have a dream of becoming a well-known designer, so she takes the opportunity to eventually she gets tangled up in a web of lies that she tells to the other ponies so she can fit in better, such as her friends not being from Ponyville, and her friends like Rainbow Dash are much more like important ponies. Like, she lies that Rainbow Dash is like the trainer for the Wonderbolts. She's not. I think important is the right word. Rarity also spends so much time with the high society ponies, she didn't have time to finish the dress she wanted to make for Twilight Sparkle. Eventually, the main six show up in Canterlot so Twilight can have her birthday party with Rarity, because they're good friends. She wants to hang out with Rarity for her birthday. During that same night, there's a garden party with the high society ponies, and Rarity lies to both groups, to the main six, so they won't think she's selfish for wanting to be around the high society ponies, and to the high society ponies, so they wouldn't ridicule her for her background, which happened earlier in the episode with different high society ponies. Rarity is trying her best to balance her time between these two different groups because she doesn't want to let either down. Again, like generosity thing, she doesn't want to let either down. So she, once again, runs herself ragged, doing her Rarity thing. But eventually the two worlds clash, and thankfully Fancy Pants finds the others charmingly rustic, which honestly just sounds like an insult or a backhanded compliment. This shows how Rarity, for one, just like isn't perfect. I mean, all of these episodes show that she's not perfect. She's not being selfish exactly. She's just trying to achieve her goals, but she makes a few mistakes along the way in doing this. And sometimes she slips up with time management. Felt that, girl. Me too. This doesn't make her a bad person or pony or a bad friend. She's just like a young adult, like clearly early to mid-20s. She has goals she wants to achieve, and she's just doing her best, you guys. She's doing what she can. And even then, she's still being generous with her time, trying to split her time between these two groups of ponies that can help get her business off the ground and the group of ponies that are her best friend. I also want to mention that Rarity didn't even finish the dress she was working on for Twilight, but Twilight still loves it as is because Twilight does have like a more modest, kind of like simple sense of style. But overall, this kind of just shows how hard Rarity works and how she's trying to make connections for her business while still trying to balance her friends and trying to do that whole work-life balance thing, and it's hard to do that. Season 4, Episode 8, Rarity Takes Manhattan. In this episode, Rarity is going to Manhattan Fashion Week. The episode starts with her like low-key taking advantage of this fact that Spike has a crush on her and makes him move all of her stuff. I mean, like I said, like I keep saying, Rarity isn't perfect, and that was a little mean of her. But honestly, we've all been there, right? Like, a guy has a crush on you, you're not that into him, but you think, I can get him to do shit for me. I mean, I don't do that, but anyways, Rarity makes up for this by giving all of her friends tickets to the musical Hinny of the Hills, which I think is an in-universe version for The Sound of Music, which if you know anything about The Sound of Music, this has some interesting implications for Equestria. She and her friends get to Manhattan. Rarity is very generous with all of her. She tips a ton of people. She's a very good tipper. She fixes a random taxi's broken wheel. Again, just being her normal generous self, because she's not only is she just being naturally generous, but also if she's generous, she gets some stuff in return. For example, she designed the costumes for one of her costume designer, or helped design costumes for one of her costume designer friends, and he was the one who got her the tickets for Hinny of the Hills. Rarity meets Surrey Polo Mare at the introduction of Fashion Week, who she used to know but kind of forgot about. Same girl, honestly, real, same. And she plays it polite and pretends to remember her, and again, same. And Surrey is kind of a massive B-word and schmoozes Rarity into giving her some of the special, one-of-a-kind fabric that Rarity developed herself. And Surrey is a backstepping B-word, I'm not going to use the actual word, because she knows how generous Rarity is, and she copies Rarity's entire, fashion line. And then there's also Coco Pommel, which is based off of Coco Chanel, and if you know anything about Coco Chanel, this also has some interesting implications about My Little Pony. Pommel is employed by Surrey and kind of unwillingly helps Surrey copy Rarity's fabric design and clothing designs, because that's what she's being paid to do, and she's being manipulated by Surrey. So Rarity needs to haul ass, redesign everything. Rarity even says, "My generosity has ruined me," which shows how being too generous can be a downfall for you, and how you need to set boundaries with people. And even if you do set boundaries with people, it's okay. It's an okay thing to do. And her friends are willing to drop their plans for the evening, which I assume is a fancy dinner, because they mention a specific restaurant, and I'm assuming it's going to be fancy because it's Manhattan. They also skip out on going to Hinny of the Hills to help her, because they know how generous Rarity is, because Rarity countless times has dropped everything for them to help them because of her generosity, so they're willing to return the favor. But also, Rarity, low-key runs a sweatshop, and then is also kind of acting like a major B-word, and she's kind of manipulative and mean, and again, it's showing she's not perfect. Ponies or people are not perfect, and they can crack under pressure really easily. Her friends stay up all night to help her finish her designs, because they know that at her core she's a good friend, and she's just really stressed out right now, and she would do the same for them. And Rarity realized that she fucked up when her friends are in the audience, so she runs off to find them and to apologize to them, but can't find them. And then the bellhop, who she's a very generous tipper to, talks to her for a little bit, and she tips him again, and he's like, I didn't do anything. Generosity. Very generous of her to tip him even though he didn't do anything. She does find them, and it turns out they just overslept, because Rarity worked them all night. Rarity apologizes and has acknowledges that she messed up and took advantage of them, and Rarity manages to get them a private performance of the play by offering to do the costumes for her costume designer friend for his next play, which would give her some serious exposure. Also, that would be great for her brand. And her friends are like, "Oh, but we're gonna miss you." Anyways, after their private performance of Hinny of the Hills, Pommel comes clean about Rarity, and tells Rarity that she won, and exposes Surrey for being a lying B-word, and was inspired by Rarity's generosity to stop working for Surrey. Rarity gives Pommel the design job she initially took to get that private performance, and again, that's also very generous of her, because that design job, she now knows that Pommel doesn't have a job anymore. She needs that job, and that job would also be great exposure for her own designs. So again, she gives up on a great opportunity out of generosity. Hello, and welcome back to my real face. So I realized that I completely skipped over Season 3 for Rarity-oriented episodes, but due to the shorter season length, there weren't as many episodes for me to choose from. I was also going to talk about Season 4, Episode 22, Tradia, but I kind of got tired of writing. Sorry. But I think I've given plenty of evidence and analysis on Rarity not being a mean girl, especially during this time when femininity was rather demonized. And again, I'm not saying she's perfect, has never done anything wrong. I'm just saying that Lauren Faust cared enough to make a character not a mean girl. Like, this is incredibly subversive for like the genre and this time. And I also wanted to say sorry about the infrequent uploads. I meant to make this back in October, and then I meant to make it in November, and you'd think, you know, I'm unemployed. I should be able to make more than like a video a month, but apparently I'm not. Sorry. I don't know what I'm doing with my life, you guys. Anyways, over the winter break, I'm gonna try to like write and pre-record a bunch of stuff so I can like edit them and upload them more frequently throughout the year while I'm working on my master's degree. I don't really know what else to say. I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you'd like to. If you don't, then don't. This also never gets any less awkward for me. I'm so sorry. Goodbye, and I will see you all later.